It's great that you can join me. And I'd like to use the session today to tell you a little bit more about this very exciting program. So if you've dialed in for the LLM and Insurance Law 2020-21, you're in the right session. And let's make a start. But first of all, let me give you some background. The Insurance Law LLM is run through Queen Mary University of London, but specifically through the Center for Commercial Law Studies, which was created 40 years ago. We are celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. And we are one of the 30 best law schools worldwide. We are a Russell Group University, and at the CCLS, we offer the largest LLM program in the UK and Europe, with a very wide range of full-time, part-time, distance learning postgraduate programs. We've got students from many, many countries, and we've got a very international research and academic community, again, with teachers and contributors from all over the world and from many different backgrounds. Our law graduates move into careers here in the UK, but also around the world. Many of them become lawyers, others go into finance, regulation, consultancy, and indeed insurance, and also into IP-related subjects. Our law school is located in the legal district of London, Holborn, which is just at the edge of the city of London, which I'll talk to you about a bit more later on, and the West End, so really super location. Now, you might think about studying insurance law, but you might also be wondering, well, why should I study insurance law, and specifically, why should I study English insurance law? Well, let me give you a number of very good reasons. Insurance law is a very fundamental aspect of every commercial transaction, of commercial law itself. Risk transfer and risk allocation, which is really what insurance is about, is at the heart of most commercial transactions. Just to give you an example, goods being sold from one part of the world to another and being transported by sea, you insure goods in transit. If you have a large infrastructure project, like building a new airport, you would have a whole series of insurances to support the project at the erection or construction stage, but also at the operational stage. These projects would not go ahead without insurance. Insurance against liability is a massive part of the insurance industry, and as lawyers, we take out professional indemnity insurance. Doctors do the same, but it's also for manufacturers of goods. They take out product liability insurance, and of course, many of us drive a car, and you know that you will need to have motor insurance, which protects you against liability from third parties if you cause them injury or damage to their car. And also, very importantly, insurance protects against the adverse financial consequences of catastrophic events such as earthquakes and big windstorms. And in that sense, I think you'll also see how topical insurance law is. I actually don't know who has dialed in, but if there are some participants from the UK with us today, you will know that the COVID-19 pandemic has given rise to many, many insurance claims, travel insurance, event cancellation insurance, but the one that is in the news a lot is business interruption insurance. And there is a big test case running at the moment in the High Court, where it is being decided to what extent businesses can recover under their business interruption insurance arrangements in relation to business closures that were motivated or necessitated by COVID-19. And there are a number of very difficult legal issues to do with how coverage is defined, with the exceptions, but also with a concept called causation. To what extent the insured peril, the business closure, has caused any loss and to what amount. Insurance is also very topical in relation to climate change. And increasingly, insurance companies are being asked to take a more proactive role in sort of kind of almost steering the behavior of people and businesses and operating in a way that sort of halts at least or reduces climate change. Also very topical is insurance arrangements in relation to artificial intelligence. And recently, there's been a new piece of legislation in the UK which has to do with how driverless cars should be insured. And we've also got a host of non-traditional insurance product, insurance-linked securities, which increasingly gain prominence and importance. And there's also something that's called InsurTech, which is the insurance equivalent to fintech, and which is about sort of automating and using technology to any distribution chain of insurance. And even though it is English insurance law is also very global. It's the governing law that is applied to insurance policies from the Lloyd's and the London insurance market and the insurance policies, but it's also frequently chosen as the governing law for cross-border insurance and reinsurance transactions. So say you've got a big infrastructure in the Middle East, the fronting insurance company might be a local company, but these insurance arrangements will be supported by reinsurers from across the world, for example, Swiss Re or Munich Re or American reinsurers. And very frequently in these very transnational interactions, English insurance law is chosen as the governing law. And for all of these reasons, being trained in English insurance law gives you really a lot of choices for lucrative employment opportunities. But apart from the sort of money aspect of it, it's also an area of law that's intellectually stimulating, very practical, and you say, I would say that, but it's also, it can be lots of fun. And to give you a flavor of the sort of fun aspects, I've just got a few pictures here of very unusual things that have been insured. The first picture, this big brown woody thing, is actually the longest cigar in the world, which weighs 110 kilograms, and it has been insured against fire damage. The chief taster of Costa Coffee has insured his taste buds for 10 million pounds. The next picture is of Heidi Klum, who has insured her legs against injury. And then the next picture is Keith Richard. And you would have thought maybe he has insured his hands, but in fact he has only insured his right middle finger. And this is allegedly not to show his middle finger, but this is one of the key fingers he needs when playing his guitar. The smiley face, there are reports that an American comedian, Rich Hall, has insured against the loss of his sense of humor. Now, this may be one of the hardest to prove claims ever, if there's a claim to be made. There are also about 20,000 policies with Lloyd's of London, where people have taken out insurance against abduction by aliens. And the Father Christmas, who is at the Macy's department store in New York, allegedly one Christmas insured his facial hair. But coming to some more serious statistics, the insurance industry is a really significant global industry. And this is not just because it's an industry that allows risk transfer, but also because the insurance companies, once they've taken the receipt of the premium, the insurance premium, they don't just sit on big bags of money, they invest that money into the economy. So insurance companies are really, really important to the global economy in terms of risk transfer, but also as large institutional investors. Now, there are some statistics which are now a couple of years old, and I couldn't find any fresher ones, I'm afraid, so apologies. In 2018, the global insurance premiums amounted to over $5 trillion. That's just over 6% of the world's GDP. And insurers had $26 trillion of assets under their management. The UK insurance industry is the fourth largest in the world and the largest in Europe, with an estimated total premium volume of just under $220 billion. And in the UK, the insurance industry is also a major employer and a major tax contributor, as well as a huge investor. So that just gives you an idea of the industry we're talking about. Now, at the CCLS, our Department of Law, we've got a world-class curriculum in insurance, which is very distinct because we offer a range of insurance law subjects, and I'll come to that in a minute. And also because of our location. So when you study insurance law in London, you are in the global hub for commercial and specialty insurance with the seat of Lloyd's of London, and the picture on the slide is the inside of Lloyd's. You see the Luton Bell in the middle of the picture. And Lloyd's, I'll say some more about Lloyd's in a moment, is the largest specialist insurance and reinsurance market. We have a very extensive network in the insurance industry and with law firms that offer insurance law as part of their services. In terms of teaching, you'll be benefiting from being taught by leading academics, former judges, and also we tend to have a lot of practitioner guest speakers. And you will have direct access to our research from the Insurance, Shipping and Aviation Law Institute. In the past, there have been opportunities for insurance-related internships and mentoring programs. So a really good place to study. My only slight caveat perhaps would be that to say that because of the COVID-19 situation, they're unlikely, certainly in the first term, they're unlikely to be any face-to-face networking events. But we will still have guest speakers, and we hope to make up for it during the rest of the academic year. So, what does the LLM in insurance law look like? Well, there are a number of modules you can take in semester one. We're going to offer the module General Principles of Insurance Law, which is really the foundational principles of insurance contract law and insurance regulation, each with 30 credits, which means they're taught over 10 weeks. And in semester two, we've got reinsurance law and international risk transfer, also with 30 credits, marine insurance law, 30 credits, and protection and indemnity clubs with 15 credits. So that's only a half module. Now, in order to gain the LLM and insurance law specialism qualification, at least 150 credits worth of taught modules have to be taken, and 105 of these have to be from this list you see here. They have to be insurance law modules, and then 45 can be from any module that is offered on the LLM program. And in addition to that, you will be required to write a 10,000-word dissertation on an insurance law topic. So you'll gain a total of 180, and so it'll be 150 worth of taught courses and 30 credits from your dissertation. I'm sort of supervising a number of insurance law dissertations at the moment from the current year students, and I'm like not just this year, but this year in particular, I'm very impressed by the very interesting topics they have picked, and I feel that I'm learning just as much from their dissertations as they do. And also some of the insurance dissertations we've had in the past, they have actually been published in practitioners' journals. So now that brings me to my next slide. How are we going to make this work in the forthcoming academic year with all its COVID-19 related challenges? What I'm telling you now is what we are planning to do, but please bear in mind that there may be some tweaks to it. And of course, there will be an element of trial and error. So what we're planning to do is that in semester one, each cycle, so each week, will have a number of components. You, the student, will have to start off with some pre-reading, so that's self-study time. Then you will be watching a recorded introductory session, so that's a short video introducing you to a new topic. And then there will be a small quiz or exercise that you take before our first live seminar. And each week, the plan is to have 2 live seminars of 90 minutes duration each, which, to the extent we can, will be taught face-to-face, but will also be online. So we do appreciate that some of you may not be able to travel, some of you may not be able to even come to England, and some of you may in fact prefer not to come in for face-to-face teaching. However, for those of you who can, there will be some face-to-face teaching provision. So we'll have these 2 live seminars, which will run dually, And then after these seminars, there will be some follow-up reading, and there will also be an opportunity to follow up with your tutor, either through an online chat forum, and every teacher also has office hours. Then in semester 2, we are hoping to be back to our usual mode of delivery, but who knows? So if things are going well and we can resume our normal operations, then what you should expect is the normal delivery mode of doing some pre-reading. Then there will be a seminar, which is 3 hours long, but with breaks, so don't despair. There'll be some follow-up reading, and again, there's an opportunity to take up any outstanding questions with your teacher. So in terms of time, for each module and each cycle, so that's each week, you should be expecting to spend 10 to 12 hours of your time. So for each module, that would be for each module per week. And then, if I Am I going too fast? Any protests? Can't see. Okay, I'll carry on. So as for the teachers on the Insurance Law LLM, I'm the director of the Insurance Law LLM, and the main teachers are, I see something flashing, I just have a look on the chat. Okay, so speed is fine. Okay, thank you. The main teachers are myself, Dr. Miriam Goldby, and Dr. Andromaki Georgiou-Sui. We also have on our staff list a former judge, Professor Sir Bernard Ricks, and he often chips in with lectures on particular subjects. And then for each module, there will be a number of guest speakers who tend to be legal practitioners or speakers from the insurance industry or indeed barristers. So to give you a little bit background about myself, I was born and I grew up in Germany, but after school I came to England and I did an undergraduate law degree at UCL. Then I did the LPC at the College of Law, and I did a training contract at Clifford Chance, which is one of the big international law firms with a big office here in London. And those of you who are not familiar with the traineeship system, when you train to be a lawyer, you are with a law firm, but the idea is that you move through different departments, so you gain experience in different fields. So the seats I did were in corporate, in banking, in pensions, and insurance litigation. And this is indeed where I then qualified. So for many years, I was a solicitor at Clifford Chance and their insurance litigation team. And I particularly specialized in advising financial institutions on policy wordings and in coverage disputes. During my time at Clifford Chance, I also went on a number of client secondments. So I spent a little bit of time at Credit Suisse and Citibank. So and at AIG, so I also have some insight into how, excuse me, how banks operate. Sorry, I should have gotten some water. In 2012, I decided to go back to academia, and I did a master's degree in commercial law at UCL. And because I liked it so much, I then decided to follow up with a PhD, a doctorate. And having researched where to do it, the best place to do it seemed to be at CCLS, and I was not disappointed. So I did a PhD in an insurance law subject here at the CCLS with Professor Philip Rawlings, who is now retired. And I started teaching, and since 2019, I've been a lecturer in insurance law here at CCLS. And I'm teaching the module on general principles of insurance law. So this is a semester 1 module with 30 credits. The topics we cover is, there'll be an initial session with an introduction to the basics of English contract, general contract law, and insurance contract law. We will do a very small session on insurance regulation and on consumer insurance issues. And this will give us all the background we need to move on to the more substantial topics, which are the pre-contractual risk presentation that the insured has to give to the insurer, the formation of insurance contract terms and classification of terms, causation, insurable interest. We'll be looking at claims, fraudulent claims, and late payment of claims. And we'll also be looking at subrogation, contribution, and assignment. Now, maybe because I've got a practitioner's background, I like to do my classes quite practical. So if you do join my classes, and I really hope you will, Expect that in addition to the academic content, there'll be a lot of practical exercises. So for example, we'll be looking at policy wordings, and we'll be discussing current issues facing the insurance industry. And my guest speakers also tend to be from the industry and from law firms. Then in terms of assessment, the summative assessment, so the formal assessment, is going to be a written exam in January, likely to be an online exam. So how this works is that the exam questions are released at a determined day and time. And then you complete the questions at home. So it's an open book exam. And then within the deadline, you have to return your answer paper. However, the exam is not going to be the first time that you are tested or assessed. Throughout my module, there will be opportunities for more informal feedbacks. There will be quizzes, there will be feedback in classroom discussions. In my revision sessions, I usually ask each student to prepare an answer for a past exam paper question and present on it. There will be feedback on that. And I'm also setting an option assignment over reading week where you can try out answering an exam question. Then the next module is insurance regulation. The module convener is Dr. Andromaki Lojosuli, but I too am teaching a number of sessions in this module. Again, it's a simple one module, 30 credits, and the topics covered are the substantive law regulation, including international standards, EU directives and UK rules, and the regulations that have been issued by the two UK regulators, the PRA and the FCA. And it's a really mixed course of very theoretical issues. So for example, the purpose of regulation, but also very practical issues to do with solvency and conduct of business. And we'll also be touching upon InsurTech and the Lloyd's regulation. Assessment, very similar. There's going to be an online exam in January. And again, throughout the term, there will be more informal opportunities to get feedback. Okay, I'm just something flashing. I'm just gonna look up. Yeah, the idea, it's probably best if I deal with questions at the end. Okay. Then moving on to semester 2, marine insurance law. The course convener is Dr. Miriam Goldby. There's a picture there. But again, I too teach some of the sessions on this course. Marine insurance law has developed a little bit different to the insurance law that applies in other areas, and that therefore merits its own subject. And the topics covered in this course are the formation of marine insurance contracts, the pre-contractual risk presentations. We are going to talk about voyage and time policies, valued and unvalued policies, and the expressed terms of cover, marine risks and excluded risks, causation, losses, indemnity and the measure of indemnity, making claims, insurable interest, assignment, and co-insurance. And again, it's practice-oriented. There'll be discussions of market practices and current issues, case studies, and we're hoping to have guest speakers. And the exam for marine insurance law, so it's a subject which is assessed by the examination in May 2021. And again, we've got a range of more informal opportunities for assessment. Okay. And then we've got P&I clubs. So P&I stands for Protection and Indemnity Clubs. It's a half module run by Dr. Miriam Goldby. And P&I clubs are something which is like mutual insurance. It's mostly sort of groups of ship owners who do not take out marine insurance cover with an insurance company as such, but they insure each other. So they all club together, hence the name club, put in a premium, and then if one of them suffers a marine loss, the claim will be paid out of this fund. Of course, that has to be formalized. So what you tend to see is that these P&I clubs have very elaborate rules that deal with the kind of the constitutional issues, but also the kind of claims that it accepts and how they're paid and how disputes are being resolved. Again, a very practical subject, and one that really complements not just the insurance subjects, but also any subjects in the shipping law sphere. The assessment, it's a written exam in May, and again, we've got a number of more informal assessments available where you can get feedback. And then, last but not least, my favorite, reinsurance law and international risk transfer. So I'm the course convener. It's a semester 2 module, 30 credits. And reinsurance law is really quite specialist, even in the amongst the city law firms in London. There are not that many reinsurance law specialists. So it's a really good topic to get into because it makes you stand out. It's very specialist, and it has lots of peculiarities and quirks that you would only know about if you have studied reinsurance law. So it's not like saying, oh, a reinsurance contract is just like any other contract. It's very, very different. So we'll be looking at reinsurance placement formation, the pre-contractual risk presentation. We'll be looking at how losses work under reinsurance contracts and how the reinsurer's obligation to indemnify operates. We'll be looking at very specific and very peculiar terms of reinsurance contracts called quality settlements clauses and claims cooperation clauses, and how they work. We'll be looking at how the reinsurance contract, which really sits on top of an underlying insurance contract, how they interact. We'll be looking at something called aggregation, which is about lumping together a number of losses and treat them as one claim. We'll be looking at late payment of claims and fortune claims. We'll be looking at what reinsurance brokers do. And a very important element of my module is that we are not just looking at traditional reinsurance. We will also be looking at insurance-linked securities, primarily cat bonds. And they are a very important tool to transfer what is essentially insurance and reinsurance risk to the finance in the capital markets. And hence, the name of this module recently expanded from just plain reinsurance law to reinsurance law and international risk transfer. Again, I'm trying to make this as practice-oriented as possible. So we'll be looking at policy wordings, and we're looking at a number of other issues. Assessment is with a written exam in May 2021, and again, I'm hoping that you're going to take advantage of other informal assessment opportunities. Right. So we've covered the different modules, and I'm happy to take questions later. Let me also say something about the dissertation. The dissertation is an extended piece of research work that you have to complete as part of the Insurance Law LLM. It should be around 10,000 words, so that's quite long, and it should show not just that you understand the law, but that you're capable of critically evaluating an aspect of that law. So you don't have to be original, you don't have to invent something new, you don't have to come up with any law reforms, but what we do expect to see from good and very good candidates is an ability to evaluate and to critically analyze. Now, at the beginning of the year, my students always get very worried about how they should identify a topic and how they should go about it and how it's all going to pan out. Now, so let me just tell you the process, how it works, and hopefully that will take away some of your fears at this stage already. So you start with us in September. In October and November, once your classes have started, start thinking about possible topics. It may be something that you have come across in your reading, where it says, for example, you read an article and it says, this point is to be settled, or this point there are two conflicting judgments. That's always a good starting point for thinking, how should this be resolved? Or you read an article criticizing a particular aspect or principle of law, and you might think, do I agree with these criticisms, or how can it be improved? So whilst you're starting your modules and you start reading, when you read with sort of in the back of your mind, might there be a possible dissertation topic in here? Then in October and November, CCLS is running a series of dissertation overview sessions. So you can go to these and learn more about the process and also learn more about how to approach legal writing. Then in sort of mid-November, there's a dedicated proposal writing session and a dissertation session in your specialism. So if you decide to do the Insurance Law LLM in November, I would invite you to come to my dissertation session, where we talk more about sort of possible topics, how to approach it, about resources, and how to research in the insurance law sphere. Then by the end of November, you submit your proposal. And really what a proposal is, it could just be as little as one paragraph outlining your topic. And absolutely everyone appreciates that at this stage, this will be an outline. You're not expected to detail every argument or every paragraph or every section of your dissertation. All it really needs is I want to write about about insurable interest. I am going to examine the recent reform proposals, and I'm going to look at how insurable interest perhaps works in another jurisdiction. So very, very basic, just an outline. Then at the beginning of January, you are allocated a dissertation supervisor who will be an academic, a teacher with expertise in the area you want to write in. In addition, from the second semester onwards, you also have the support from LLM tutors. Now, they are not specialists in your legal area, but they will be able to advise you and to guide you just on more of general dissertation issues, how to plan your time, how to research, maybe how to put a bibliography together, how to cite correctly, that kind of thing. In January, you should also have your first meeting with your supervisor. I do one-to-one meetings. Some other teachers, they do the first meeting as a group meeting. And in this meeting, I would want to hear more from you about your topic and how you're planning to organize your time. And we will be talking about possible structures, so what to include in it and which parts should be there, etc. And we'll also be talking about books and articles you should read and how to organize your research. Then in April, once you've finished your second semester, we'll have a second meeting, by which stage I expect to see a structure. And by that, I mean, it's almost like a table of contents. I want to know what your chapters are. So if your dissertation is divided into 5 chapters, I want to know what the chapter titles are, and ideally also the sections and subsections. This will give me an idea whether your dissertation is likely to follow a logical structure. And then you'll be doing your second set of exams in May, so that your focus should then be on the exams. And then as soon as you finish your exams, you can't just rest and take a break, or maybe a little break, but then it's the time to do your dissertation. And we'll have a third meeting in end of June and beginning of July, where I ask my students to see a draft chapter. And this allows me to give you feedback on your actual writing. So this is what I'm doing with my current set of students at the moment, and some of them are very good, and I've read 2 of their draft chapters. Some of them, it's like squeezing water out of a stone, and I'm a little bit concerned about their progress, so expect me to chase you if you haven't done at least 1 draft chapter by end of June. And then you finalize your draft, and the submission deadline is usually sort of in late August. So this is the dissertation process, and hopefully you don't find it too scary or too worrying. And then in terms of careers and employability, I've already mentioned that the insurance industry is a massive employer. There are, with an insurance law background, there are jobs in the UK and internationally, because you don't just gain the legal knowledge from a very specialist area, you also gain a lot of transferable skills. In the past, we've had students that got internships, traineeships, and careers with some law firms, but also in graduate schemes and careers with lawyers and insurance companies. Just a few days ago, I spoke to a student who finished last year, who's now a lawyer with Swiss Re, and he's going to come and speak in one of my classes in the forthcoming academic year, so hopefully you'll be able to meet him. And there are also careers with regulators. Again, last year, I had a student who returned to work for the insurance regulator in her home jurisdiction. Right, so this is about the insurance law LLM. When you come to London, and of course, you should also enjoy London, and there are lots of opportunities for sightseeing. Also, some of them may be a little bit restricted at the moment. I actually went to the National Gallery last weekend. They have just reopened, and it was actually very nice because it was relatively empty, and you had to follow prescribed routes within the National Gallery. But I really, really enjoyed it after 4 months of lockdown. So hopefully by the time you arrive, it will be the case that you can see things in London and not just study, but also enjoy the social and cultural side of London. In addition to the mainstream sightseeing, please allow me to also tell you a little bit more about the City of London, which I've already mentioned a few times. Now, the City of London is a geographic location. So you can see this is London, Greater London itself, and a tiny little bit right in the middle of the center is what's called the City of London, or the square mile. And you can also see that here, that's us, the Lincoln's Inn Field, CCLS. We're here right at the edge of the city. And of course, what we do, commercial law, is bound up with what's happening in the city itself. So, in addition to it being a geographical place, the city is also the heart of finance and commerce in the UK. So it's the home of the Bank of England, London Stock Exchange, Lloyd's of London, the AIM, the Alternative Investment Market, and over 500 banks and 150 insurance companies. It's also the headquarters of major global companies such as Aviva, BT, Standard Chartered, Unilever, and many, many, many law firms, accountancy firms, and other professional services firms, as well as tech firms and lots of retail. The city also has its own governance, which goes back to old Anglo-Saxon times and privileges. Since the Magna Carta, the city has the right to elect its own mayor. So the mayor of the City of London is not Sadiq Khan, it's somebody else. And I think he's called Mr. Russell, I've forgotten his first name. And the city is administered by the City of London Corporation, headed by the Lord Mayor, but they also have a council. And here in this second picture, you see the Guildhall, which is where the councillors have their seat. And the picture on top, this is Mansion House. This is where the mayor, the Lord Mayor of London has his residence. And of course, the City of London is a major employer and workplace. There are over 500,000 workers in the City of London. Maybe not right now, they're all working from home, or many of them working from home. And you can also see that large percentages are in financial services, including the insurance industry, and in professional services, which would include law firms. So in terms of city institutions, the places you will come across is the Bank of England, the UK's central bank. And coming back to sightseeing, a really good place to see is to visit the Bank of England Museum. And I've included the website here once it has reopened. And another famous city institution, which I've already mentioned a few times, is Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's of London is not an insurance company itself, but it's the world's leading specialist insurance and reinsurance market. So you can see here in the picture, there are these little sort of what's called boxes. There's sort of groups of desks where sort of insurance syndicates operate from. And the procedure is that an insurance broker who's got a risk to place will approach one of these boxes to find an insurer with whom he can place the risk. So it's just like a marketplace, but for insurance risk. And you can see from the list I've listed here just how wide-ranging Lloyd's operates. And just one is we are also, City of London is also home to the London Stock Exchange. And again, if you want to learn a little bit more about the London Stock Exchange, there's a sort of an education website you can look at this website. And the City of London is also home to the panel on takeovers and mergers, which is the regulatory body that is charged with administering the city code. So if two public companies merge or one takes over the other, the panel, the PTM, is getting involved and supervising this process. And finally, the Central Criminal Court, or the Old Bailey, you've probably seen it on TV, either in the news for big criminal law cases, so murder cases or even terrorist cases that are in the news. But you may have also seen it in sort of crime TV programs. And again, this is an institution that is open to the public. Most trials are conducted in public, and usually, I'm saying this with the caveat of COVID-19, usually members of the public can watch trials, so you can watch from the public galleries. You just have to turn up sort of around 9:30 in the morning, have your bag searched, and then you can watch a real life trial. The Old Bailey is not the Royal Courts of Justice, and the Royal Courts of Justice, where commercial law cases are heard, including insurance law cases, are the Strand, that's a different building, that's also worth visiting. And the Old Bailey is also different from the Supreme Court, which is a very nice building in Westminster, opposite the Houses of Parliament. And you can also visit those courts.